Welcome to the Fulfillment Project podcast, where we, the seekers, unite together to step into our higher selves and highest purpose. I'm your host, Simpli Sara, and I'm glad that we have found each other here today. My aim for this show is to give you some tools and strategies along with the awareness of emotional intelligence and intuition as you create a life and business from alignment, creating more joy and fulfillment every single day. Welcome to the Fulfillment Project podcast, or welcome back. I am your host, Sara. And if you've been a long-time listener, you have seen the revamp, relaunch, kind of pivot of conversation with this podcast just this past March, where we are diving all into growth and how to get your life into alignment, how to build and create and manifest from a place of peace and ease and joy, and truly creating our life from love versus fear. And, I went on this wild journey for the past 2 years of realigning my own life, realigning my business. And this work has now truly just felt like it's been channeled through me in order to help you as well. The woman on the other side of these headphones, or on the other side of the screen, if you're watching me here on YouTube, the woman who I know wants to build a life that they absolutely love. We grow up, at least I know for myself, I'm not going to project onto you, but I know when I was growing up, I had this envision of this beautiful, happy life with a loving relationship and doing something that had meaning for me and truly adulting in life. Like I used to play Barbies. I used to love, creating my own realities. My dad used to have a game on his computer. This was like back in the 90s. There was a game on his computer and we had a steering wheel that actually went with that game. And I think it was like Monster Truck Rally. And one of the I don't know if you call it like a game, or like one of the sections within the game, you could drive around, or it was a track that was within a village. And I used to go off the track and pretend like I was like driving my kids to school and just like driving through life. And I loved, creating that reality for myself when I was young. And so as we get older, sometimes we can lose this vision of, what is a really good life for me? And what are the things that I truly want to create or manifest or shift or pivot in my life? And I love getting people back to that space of dreaming again, of uncovering who their true self is, because that's the journey that I've been on for the past 2 years, and it's been absolutely transformational. And I know that when we are maybe sifting through personal development content, growth-based content, spiritual content, there's a lot of things that you can learn. There are a lot of things that you can dive into, and I'm all for like playing around and seeking different types of information and seeing what lands with you and seeing what doesn't. But one of the things that I used for my growth that I started over a year ago, I don't do it so much anymore because I feel like it really served me, but I hope this may serve you as well. So if you're watching YouTube right now, okay, we're going to do something super, super cool and fun, by the way. So if you're watching YouTube right now, you're going to get a little bit more of an illuminated experience. If you're listening to the audio, no biggie. I'll try to visualize this as much as you possibly can. And so I have an Oracle deck. This one's called The Secret Language of Light. And I'm actually going to link this up in the show notes for you because I have a bunch of different Oracle decks and I know they all serve different purposes, but this one I found was so great for even picking that one card and being able to do work off of the one card. And so, yes, you can use this deck as like a spread to be able to tell you a little bit more of a multi-dimensional insight, but we're going to do the one card pull. I want to pull a card, I want to read it, I want to talk about it, and see if this message can serve you in the hours, days, or maybe week to come. What I used to do with this deck is I would pull a card. I'd pull two cards every Sunday. One card would be my purpose and my focus and growth focus for that week, and the second card was an action step in order to support that growth. And just with the way that these cards are laid out and how each card is talked about or explained gives a lot of action or focus work that you can do. And so let's do this for you. We're going to pull a card, we're going to read about it, let's talk about it, and let's see if this can serve you. Because instead of having if you were in my master class, the Art of Aligned Intelligence master class the other week, you would have heard me talk about the aligned manifestation cycle and the misaligned manifestation cycle. And in the misaligned manifestation cycle, there can be what I call like this frantic, manic, chaotic action in order towards our goals. And I found, because I've seen this in myself, that sometimes I'm taking this maybe misaligned action towards my growth. And there's this like manic learning and manic intake and manic like seeking for things. And that's not what we want to do. We want to get grounded. We want to have aligned action. And aligned action involves actually removing a lot of distraction, removing the things that don't need to focus right now so that we can narrow in and actually have progression on something. And so that's why I loved, picking just two cards, and we'll pick one today, because it can give you like one singular focus, and maybe it's something that's going to serve you and maybe it's not, but at least you gave something one singular focus and there wasn't all this like manic chaotic action or seeking happening. So here we go. I'm going to shuffle these cards, shuffling, and I am just going to pick any card here. Oh, we chose divine masculine. So if you've been listening to the show, you may have heard me talk about masculine and feminine energy. Let me just talk about this before we, actually, no, let me read the card because it will probably explain this and then we can have a conversation afterwards. So divine masculine. So if you're watching the YouTube, you can see this beautiful, beautiful card here. But if you're listening to the audio, it is this circle, and within the circle, there is this fire of like blue flames, red flames, yellow flames, and this explosion of energy forcing upwards. We also have a lotus flower that is fully opened. I don't know because of my light if you can actually see that on the YouTube, but it is just this beautiful explosion of energy and fire. And this card, it's reading Divine Masculine. The light that supports desire and inspired action. Everything has its purpose. You will not always understand what the purpose of something is. However, it is someone's creation and that is to be respected. If you don't like it, let it be the inspiration to create something more aligned with your soul's purpose. Consider all areas of your life and reevaluate any part that may not be working. You can be your own father by respecting your ideas and providing a way for them to manifest. You are a master of your own making. So now is the time to recognize your inner strength and motivation and to be the leader of your thoughts and emotions instead of a follower. Stand your ground, regain your self-respect, pick yourself up, and dust yourself off. This is not a time to force against or try to control external forces. This is a time for disciplining the way you focus and what you think about so you can create your dreams. Oh, love that. It's interesting because sometimes in my busy seasons or going into launches or creations, I've pulled that card and I'm like, okay, we got to like nail down into this masculine energy and really get that inspired energy into action so that we're actually creating. And there is a difference between the masculine and the feminine energy. We all have both of these energies. They're not targeted towards one gender or another. Men have feminine energy and masculine energy, and females also have masculine and feminine energy as well. Although most of the time, a female will have a predominance of feminine energy and some masculine energy. If you don't have masculine energy, nothing gets done. And on the other hand, a male is usually more predominant within that masculine energy and then has a supporting feminine energy as well. And the masculine energy is very directional, it's very action, outcome, process, logic, organization. It is the like, let's buckle down and get shit done. Now, the divine, there's a difference between divine and toxic masculinity. And this card that we pulled here was the divine masculine. And so a toxic masculine energy can be overly aggressive. It can be controlling. It can be a manic actioning without there a lot of like organization or structure or clarity on what that produced outcome should be. Whereas the divine masculine is very grounded. It's very calculated. The actions that are taking are calculated in a way where there's not a waste of energy. And so it's very, very purposeful. The divine masculine is very, very purposeful. I'll talk about the feminine, and I don't want to go into that too much because this is really about the divine masculine. But the feminine, this is the creativity. This is the being. The masculine is the doing. The feminine is compassion. The feminine is connection. The feminine is being present within the moment. The feminine loves flow. The feminine loves change. The feminine loves to be wild, it loves to be free. And we need both of these energies because the masculine contains the feminine so that it can actually have some structure for productivity. And the masculine also needs the feminine so that it's not almost robotic. There's more of that human connectionness, and having that flow to it. And so with this divine masculine and pulling this card, what this can mean for you is a time to get organized, a time to get structured, a time to gain some clarity, a time to gain some direction, and a time to really gain some aligned action towards what you want. This card is beautiful if you are in a season of creation. The feminine is creativity. So the feminine is like downloads and ideas and insights and like a huge vision, whereas the masculine is bringing that vision into the reality. And so maybe having a look at, is there too much feminine energy in your life where the productivity and the outcome isn't there if it's a time for you? Or is there maybe toxic masculinity where there, or so it's toxic masculinity if it's a male. When a female is too much in her toxic masculinity, that's a wounded female, a wounded feminine, because she doesn't really value the energy of the feminine, which is me for a long time. I used to think the feminine was lazy. I used to think the feminine was unproductive. I used to think that slower connection presence was something that I would achieve after I've done something. Meanwhile, it needs to be there within the process of the doing in order to have that beautiful balance of energies within us. And so if you are operating from a wounded feminine, or if you're in that toxic masculinity where there's control, there's too much rigidness, there's maybe aggression, there is impatience for the actions that are happening. Maybe it's that manic actioning. It's a time to sit back and maybe ground yourself and gain some clarity. And I hope that serves you. There's also some reflections that come with this card that I think would be, yeah. So they give some journal work if you want to work on this. Draw or write 3 ways the men in your life inspire your connection to your inner masculine. So this is a great, my ladies on the call, this is a great actioning point. Have a look at the men in your life. What is it that inspires you about them? When we get inspired by others, when we can see the good in others, when we can see that love and expansiveness in others, it's such a breath of energy within us to be able to show up and honor those parts of ourselves. And so 3 ways the men in your life inspire your connection to your inner masculine. That's a great journaling prompt. Also, what they've given here is inspired reflections and actions. There's a couple of them. So the first thing that you can do is at sunrise, give thanks for the sun for illuminating all the creations in your life. Be open to receiving inspired reflections, actions, and solutions. Hmm. So are you open to different solutions? Are you open to different actions? The second action we can take is before seeking to help another, find balance and harmony within yourself. That's good. Whatever the outcome, don't judge it, the other or yourself. So before seeking to help another, find balance and harmony within yourself. Yes. Sometimes we're so focused on like moving forward and getting and bringing something more into our life, whether it's another client or a creation that has to be done, but we haven't stopped to check in with ourselves. Like, are we actually balanced? Are we in the right manifesting energy of what we want to bring into our life? Or are we in a chaotic energy that's more toxic and wounded, where we're trying to like do the thing to get a relief to have something on the other side of it, as opposed to asking yourself, am I receiving what I want in this very moment as I'm in the process of achieving what I want? And the last solution or action step here is, if you want to save the world, you will create a world that needs saving. Decide instead to create multiple paths of empowerment where people can save themselves. Ooh, so good. So the masculine is a fixer, and the masculine likes to be support. The masculine loves to serve, it loves to give. But a wounded feminine or a toxic masculine energy will feel like it needs to be the savior and puts all its value on itself, which can be very draining, which can lead to a lot of burnout. And you feel like you are the one that needs to like Yeah, saved. Like that was said perfectly. You're the one that feels like you need to save and find a solution for someone, as opposed to being the one who has the support, who holds the container and the space, and is able to allow someone to find those answers for themselves. That's what coaches do. And sometimes a lot of coaches can end up in savior mode as opposed to that coach, guide, person holding space mode. Oh, I love this card. This is such a beautiful conversation. And so have a look at those reflections, have a look at those actions there. Is there anything that's going on in your life that is out of alignment from how you are actioning or how you are creating in your life? That energy that you are bringing to the table for whatever it is that you are manifesting. When it's grounded, when it comes from a divine masculine perspective, then you have the highest, most sustainable manifestation, because we can manifest a lot into our life. You manifest things all the time. Like we got stuff, we got things, we got houses and clothes and businesses and families. Like you got stuff that you've manifested. But what was that energy that you were manifesting from? Because how we create is what we create. And if we are not creating from that divine, grounded, masculine perspective, we usually are creating more chaos, more frustration, and more imbalance in our life. And so, have this be a time where you do that check with yourself, do an audit, have a look at where you're actioning and the things that are moving forward that are producing an outcome. Is it what you want? And is it of the highest manifestation that you want? Because once you get something, there needs to be actions or some sort of support to be able to sustain that manifestation. And if the actions that we're taking right now are not something that we're enjoying or they don't feel grounded or balanced, they will never be sustainable. And therefore, the manifestation will never be sustainable. All right. Love you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this served you today, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode today. My website, simplisara.com, is a great place for me to continue to support you on your journey to alignment, joy, and fulfillment. There you will find upcoming retreats that I am hosting, resources, books, and many other helpful tools to help you on your travels through this thing called life.